I mentioned canceling my wedding, but my brother confessed his love for my fiancée, left his pregnant wife, and got the family to disown us. At 26 years old, I got engaged to my beautiful fiancée, Olivia, who is 25, about 6 months ago. Olivia and I grew up together in the same neighborhood. We went to kindergarten together and were practically inseparable all the way through high school. We started dating when I was 18 and she was 17. We spent 4 years in a long-distance relationship while we were both in college. The moment I graduated, I moved to her city to be with her and started my own business. I couldn't stand being apart from her during our long-distance phase, and it also seemed like the right time for me to be with her. We lived together for a year while she finished nursing school, and I focused on growing my business. It was tough, but things were going well. Business was thriving, and Olivia graduated last year and began working as a pediatric nurse. By then, we had been living together for a year. Finally, I did what I had always dreamed of doing. I proposed to her. She said yes, thankfully. Even though we got engaged almost 2 years ago, we agreed to save up for our own place before throwing money at a wedding, since neither of us was overly concerned about having a big one. Everything was going as perfectly as I had hoped. We were both doing well financially, and we hoped to get married next year and perhaps even start a family soon. Things were going smoothly until last week, when I made a silly joke at a family dinner that completely messed things up. It was supposed to be a happy occasion. My parents invited me and Olivia over to celebrate their anniversary. They also invited my younger sister, Kate, my older brother, Jake, and his wife, Rachel. Jake and Rachel had been married for about a year and a half, and they were expecting their first child. I mention this because it's important for you to know these details before I get to what actually happened. We were sitting around the dinner table, enjoying the food and drinks, when my dad jokingly asked me and Rachel if we were ever planning on getting married or if our engagement was just a permanent thing. Now, before anyone criticizes him for being rude, I just want to clarify that my dad is a huge goofball. He's known Olivia since she was a child and already considers her like a daughter-in-law. He knew there was no question about us getting married. He was just messing with us like dads do. I laughed, shrugged, and said something like, well, you know, it's a lot of work. Wonder if it's worth it. Maybe we should just call it off and save ourselves the trouble. I said it as a joke, a harmless one. I love Olivia more than anything, and I couldn't wait to marry her. I was just trying to lighten the mood and make everyone laugh. I was a bit tipsy and didn't realize how badly my words would affect Olivia. She's usually a good sport about jokes, but I guess this one didn't land well, and she broke down crying. I was horrified. I immediately apologized, telling her it was just a joke, that I didn't mean it, and that I couldn't wait to marry her. That was the truth, but she was still really upset and ran off to the bathroom. I followed her, but she wouldn't open the door. I had to go back to the table, and everyone was just silent. No one finished their dinner. My mom and sister talked to Olivia and told me she wanted some time alone, and she would be staying over for the night. They said I should give her some space. I apologized to her again and left feeling terrible for what I had just done. Olivia is the love of my life, and hurting her is the last thing I'd ever want to do. I came home and sent her a long text apologizing for what I said and reassuring her that I would never make such a joke again. I had complete faith in our relationship and knew that, although it might take time, we would get through this and she would forgive me. I went to bed hoping to hear from her in the morning. To say that I couldn't have imagined how things would turn out would be an understatement. It was late when I finally went to sleep, and I ended up waking up late the next morning. I tried to check my phone to see if Olivia had texted, but it was dead. Of course, I had forgotten to plug it in before bed. I panicked, thinking I had missed calls or messages from Olivia while my phone was off. As soon as I plugged it in, I saw dozens of missed calls and texts, not just from Olivia, but from my mom, dad, sister, and even my sister-in-law. I was terrified. I immediately called Olivia, but she didn't pick up. I then called my mom. When she answered, she was practically screaming at me, asking where I had been and why no one could reach me. I tried to explain that I had simply forgotten to charge my phone, but she told me not to waste time and to get home immediately. I drove faster than I've ever driven before, calling Olivia the whole way, but she still didn't answer. This just made my anxiety worse, and I kept imagining the worst-case scenarios. Those 15 minutes felt like the most stressful of my life. When I finally got home and pulled into the driveway, I heard screaming. You can imagine how that made me feel. I ran inside and headed straight to the kitchen, where the shouting was coming from. The whole family was there. Olivia was crying, and my mom was yelling at everyone. My sister saw me first and announced my arrival to everyone. When my mom and Olivia saw me, it all fell apart. My mom started yelling at me, saying that my stupidity had ruined this family forever. I was so confused. I asked my sister what was going on. She said it would be better if I asked Olivia. My mom referring to Olivia as my fiancée was strange, since she's always been so affectionate with her and even calls her Livy. I turned to Olivia and asked her to please tell me what was going on. She said we needed to talk in private. By then, my mom had stormed out of the kitchen, so Olivia and I went to my bedroom to talk. I was beyond stressed at this point and begged her to explain what had happened. She said I needed to calm down and listen to her. But it was too late for that. I told her to just tell me what was going on. She took a deep breath and explained that earlier that morning, she heard a knock at the door. When she opened it, she found my brother standing there. She was surprised and asked him what was going on. He told her he needed to talk about something important. She asked what it was, and he said it would be better to talk in private. She agreed, and they went for a walk together. That's when things started to go wrong. They had just walked around the corner of the block, and my brother asked her how she was feeling after what happened last night. She said she was fine and had just had an outburst. She had already tried calling me to talk, but my phone was off. She said she planned to come back home to me after breakfast. My brother looked at her for a moment, then started saying things like how he'd always thought I wasn't kind to her, and that she deserved someone who truly valued her. Olivia tried to defend me, saying I was just goofy sometimes and that I loved her, but my brother interrupted and told her she didn't have to pretend anymore. He told her she should raise her standards and be with someone better than me. She was taken aback and asked him why he was saying this. He admitted that he had been in love with her for years and had always hoped we would break up so he could ask her out. He had only married his wife because we got engaged. Olivia was shocked. She told me she thought he was joking at first and laughed, asking him to stop, even wondering if I had set this whole thing up to tease her. But when she realized he was serious, she was horrified. He told her he hoped she would think it over and give him an answer because he wanted to marry her and wouldn't make her wait like I had. He said he'd left his wife and would give her anything she wanted. He even went so far as to say that if she wanted, they could elope and start a new life together, away from all of us. Of course, she was horrified and told him off, saying he was a monster for doing this to his pregnant wife and that she was disgusted by him. She stormed off and returned home, wanting to say a quick goodbye to the family before coming back to our place. She didn't want anyone in the family to know what had happened, but it was already too late for that. When she got back, she saw my sister-in-law, who had been crying to my mom and sister. When she saw Olivia, she got so angry that she lunged at her, and my sister had to hold her back. There was a lot of screaming and name-calling. My mom, of course, was incredibly embarrassed and took it out on Olivia and me. My dad tried to intervene, but my mom just told him to stay out of it. They all tried to reach me, but of course, I was unreachable. My sister-in-law left, saying she would never forgive this family, that it was because of us that she had to be a single mom now. By that time, I had spoken to my mom and was already on my way. They had also tried calling my brother, but he wasn't responding. So, here's what happened. Honestly, I was in such shock that I couldn't really process everything at first. I just stood there staring at Olivia. Even now, I don't think I've fully grasped what happened. Olivia told me she tried to explain that she had no idea about all this, and this was the first time my brother had ever said anything like that. I know that's the truth. I still can't believe he had been feeling this way for so long. I know it's true, and I'm still having a hard time with it. I was angry and disappointed in my brother, of course, but honestly, I was even more upset with my mom and sister for trying to make Olivia feel responsible for what happened. I mean, I get that my sister-in-law might be upset, but it's just wrong for everyone to gang up on Olivia, who's done nothing wrong, especially when she was already upset about the whole situation. I apologized to her for everything she had to hear and for me not being there sooner. I told her to wait in the car while I spoke to my mom and sister. While Olivia was waiting, I tried to talk to my mom and sister. My mom was still being unreasonable. She said everything could have been avoided if I just kept my mouth shut and not joked about calling off the wedding. I couldn't believe how ridiculous that sounded. Anyone with common sense would know it was just a joke, and even if I shouldn't have said it, I couldn't understand why nobody was blaming my brother. No matter what I said or did, he was the one who wrecked everything. I told my mom she needed to apologize to Olivia because none of this was her fault, and she deserves respect. This just made my mom even angrier. She told me she'd never say anything nice to Olivia, calling her a homewrecker and saying she lured her son. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, so I told my mom to take back what she said. My sister said there's no way my brother just randomly did this, that Olivia must have led him to think she wasn't happy with me because why else would he have left my sister-in-law? My mom said that Olivia and I had ruined this family and her chance to be a grandma, because my sister-in-law said she wouldn't allow anyone from this family to be near her or her future child. I tried to explain again, to make them see reason, but they told me to leave and never come back. I was furious with them, so I decided to leave. I drove home with Olivia. The two of us are still really upset and have no idea what to do next. I've been second-guessing everything, and the things my mom and sister said keep replaying in my head. I don't know what to believe anymore. I just hope my mom and sister come to their senses and realize they're blaming the one person who didn't deserve any of this. I've tried reaching out, but my dad told me that no one wants to talk to me or Olivia anymore. I feel terrible for making a joke. Joke update 1. I just want to say thank you to those who have supported me and think I didn't do anything wrong that night at the dinner. Some of you have asked why Olivia reacted the way she did to my joke. I didn't want to go into this because it's personal, but I asked Olivia if she was okay with me sharing this on Reddit, and she agreed. Yes, she has forgiven me for the joke. I told her I know I was a complete jerk, and I will never make a comment like that again. Our relationship is still strong, and I know we'll get through this. Here's the thing, even though Olivia and I had discussed staying engaged for a while and focusing on bigger goals, like saving for our house before getting married, she was starting to feel insecure about it. Apparently, a few months ago, she overheard some co-workers gossiping about her and the permanent engagement at work, which really upset her. She didn't want to tell me because she knew I'd want to get married right away, but in her head, she knew waiting was the more financially responsible choice. She still had complete faith in our relationship, but it was something she struggled with. I guess my timing was just off. She was already feeling a little on edge when my dad joked about our engagement lasting forever, but she managed to stay composed. When I made a similar comment, it felt like rubbing salt in the wound. She felt hurt and embarrassed, and it took her back to the time she overheard her co-workers talking about her. I had no idea any of this was going on. I honestly feel like I wasn't a good enough partner to her for not noticing that something was wrong. We talked about it, and we decided to have a small ceremony within the next 6 months so she wouldn't feel any more anxiety about the whole situation. We had planned a nice beach wedding once we had our house, but right now, I think the most important thing is having a ceremony that makes her feel good. With everything going on in the family, planning a big wedding seems too overwhelming, but as long as I have her, I think everything will be okay. To those of you asking why she stayed at my mom's place instead of coming back to the apartment and making me stay home, my family and I have known Olivia her whole life. She's spent countless hours in that house, and my childhood bedroom is basically hers too. She loves my family. Honestly, before that day, if anyone had told me that my own mom and sister would turn against her and be so cruel, I never would have believed it. This whole situation is incredibly disappointing, and it feels like everything I believed in has been challenged. I'm worried about my relationship, and my family won't speak to me. I'm still trying to process what my brother did. As for my brother, he hasn't contacted Olivia since that day. He's clearly avoiding my calls, and I have no idea where he is. I tried talking to my family about him, but nobody will speak to me. My dad is trying to stay neutral but doesn't want to upset my mom, who is apparently hysterical about not being involved in her first grandchild's life. My dad also told me that they reached out to my sister-in-law, but she made it clear that she didn't want to speak to any of them. So, here's what happened. I was completely in shock and couldn't really process it for a while. I just stood there, staring at Olivia. Even now, I don't think I've fully processed everything. Olivia told me she tried to explain that she had no idea this was coming and that this was the first time my brother had ever said anything like this. I know for a fact that's true. I can't believe he'd been feeling this way for so long. I know that for sure. I was obviously disappointed and angry at my brother, but honestly, I was even more upset with my mom and sister for trying to make Olivia feel responsible for all of this. I mean, I can sort of understand my sister-in-law being unreasonable and blaming Olivia, but it's just wrong for everyone to gang up on her when she's done nothing wrong and was already feeling bad about the whole situation. I apologized to her for everything she had to hear and for me not getting home sooner. I told her to go wait in the car while I talked to my mom and sister. While Olivia waited outside, I tried talking to my mom and sister. My mom was still being completely unreasonable. She told me that this whole mess could have been avoided if I had just controlled my words and not joked about calling off the wedding. I couldn't believe how stupid that sounded. Anyone with a bit of sense would understand that I was joking, and even if I shouldn't have said it, I still don't get why no one was blaming my brother. No matter what I said or did, he was the one who ruined everything by doing what he did. I told my mom she needed to apologize to Olivia because none of this was her fault and she deserved respect. This just made my mom more angry. She told me she would never say anything nice to Olivia, calling her a homewrecker and saying she lured her son. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, so I told my mom to take back what she said. My sister then said there was no way my brother just did this out of the blue, that Olivia must have given him some kind of hint that she wasn't happy with me, because why else would he have left his wife? My mom said that Olivia and I had ruined this family and her chance at being a grandmother, because my sister-in-law said she wouldn't let anyone from this family near her or her future child. I tried again to make them see the logic, but they just told me to leave and never come back. I was so angry at their stupidity, so I decided to leave. I drove home with Olivia. We were both still upset and didn't know what to do next. I've been second-guessing everything, and the things my mom and sister said keep repeating in my head. I don't know what to believe anymore. I just hope my mom and sister come to their senses and realize they're blaming the one person who didn't deserve any of this. I've tried reaching out to them, but my dad told me that none of them want to speak to me or Olivia anymore. I feel terrible for making that joke. Joke update 1, I just want to say how grateful I am to those of you who support me and think I didn't do anything wrong that night at the dinner. Some of you have also asked why Olivia reacted the way she did to my joke. I didn't want to go into this because it's pretty personal, but I asked Olivia if she was okay with me sharing this on Reddit, and she agreed. Yes, she has forgiven me for my joke. I told her I know I was a complete jerk and that I'll never say anything like that again. Our relationship is as strong as it ever was, and I know we can get through this. Here's the situation: even though Olivia and I had agreed to stay engaged for a while and focus on bigger goals, like saving for a house before getting married, she was starting to feel insecure about it. A couple of months ago, she overheard some coworkers gossiping about her and our permanent engagement at work, which really upset her. She didn't want to tell me because she knew I'd just want to get married immediately, but she felt waiting was a smarter financial decision. She still had full faith in our relationship, but it was something she was struggling with. I guess the timing was just wrong. She was already a little on edge when my dad made his joke about us having an eternal engagement, but she kept her composure. Then, when I made a similar comment, it just made everything worse. She felt embarrassed and hurt, and it took her back to when she overheard her coworkers gossiping about her. I didn't know any of this was going on. Honestly, I feel like I wasn't a very good partner to her for not noticing how upset she was. We talked about it and decided we'll have a small ceremony within the next 6 months, so she doesn't feel anxious about it. For the last 2 years, we've been talking about having a beach wedding once we have our house, but I think it's more important for us to just have a ceremony. With everything going on with the family, planning a big wedding feels too overwhelming, but as long as I have her, I know I'll be okay. Also, to those of you asking why Olivia stayed at my mom's place instead of going back to the apartment and making me stay home, my family and I have known Olivia her whole life. She spent so much time in that house, and my childhood bedroom is practically hers now. She loves my family. Honestly, before all this happened, if anyone had told me that my own mom and sister would turn against her and treat her this way, I would have never believed it. This whole situation is so disappointing, and it's shaken everything I thought I knew. I'm worried about my relationship, and now my family won't speak to me. I'm still trying to process what my brother did. Speaking of him, he hasn't contacted Olivia since that day. He's avoiding my calls, and I don't know where he is. I tried to talk to my family about him, but they wouldn't listen. My dad is trying to stay neutral, but he doesn't want to upset my mom, who's apparently freaking out about possibly not being involved in her first grandchild's life. My dad also told me that they reached out to my sister-in-law, but she made it clear that she didn't want to talk to any of them. I really don't know what to do about this situation anymore. I still believe my fiancée deserves an apology from my family for everything they said to her, and I will make sure she gets one. But for now, we both agree that it's better to let things cool off for a while before starting another fight. Update 2. Hey, everyone. Sorry for the delay in updating. Honestly, things have been incredibly stressful with my family, and I haven't been in the right mental space to post. Thanks for your patience as I fill you all in on what's been going on in my life. I can't believe I'm saying this, but my brother has gone back to his wife. It's been a few weeks since everything blew up, and apparently, he showed up at his house last night and begged my sister-in-law to give him another shot. He said he wasn't thinking clearly and that it was all Olivia's fault. He actually had the nerve to say that she had been giving him signals for years, and that night, he just snapped and made that decision without thinking. I have no idea how anyone could believe this ridiculous lie, but apparently, my sister-in-law did. She decided to forgive him, but here's the crazy part. The real reason I'm updating is because of how my family responded. My sister-in-law doesn't want to be part of this family anymore. She wants my brother to move to another state and raise their kid away from us. My brother tried to talk her out of it, and she agreed, but with a condition. She said she never wants to see me or Olivia again, and the only way my parents and sister can stay involved in the baby's life is if they cut us out of the family for good. She said it was only fair since we caused her so much pain. My brother told my family what happened, and I'm genuinely upset to say that they chose him and their future grandkid over me. My mom and sister are not speaking to me. My dad was the one who came to my house to deliver the news. I tried to defend Olivia and myself, but my dad told me to let it go and not make things worse. I can't even begin to describe the disappointment I feel toward my family. This all happened just days after my last update. A couple of weeks have passed since then. Olivia and I are going through a rough patch. Even though I've done my best to reassure her that none of this is her fault, she still feels guilty about me being cut off from my family. Honestly, at this point, I could care less about that. More than anything, I'm furious with my family for being cowards and proudly choosing the worst possible stance. I've tried to put all of this behind me, but I just can't. I've been trying to come up with a way to get back at them, despite Olivia telling me to move on. Maybe I'll come up with something, but at the very least, I want to teach my brother a lesson. Update 3. I've got another update for you guys. As I mentioned in my last update, Olivia and I are still really upset about how my family is handling this whole mess. It's clear now that my brother only came back because he realized Olivia would never be with him, and he had nowhere else to go. We don't blame my sister-in-law. I can imagine how overwhelming it must be to think about raising a child alone. But we also know this situation isn't fair to her at all. So, in the middle of all this chaos, Olivia and I came up with a bold plan to expose my brother for who he really is. It was a risky move, but one we felt was necessary for everyone's sake. I had no doubt that my brother was the kind of person who would leave his pregnant wife for his own brother's fiancée. It was possible that he had a sudden change of heart, but if he truly regretted his actions and was a better man now, he would prove it. The plan was simple but dangerous. Olivia would pretend to be interested in my brother, lure him into a trap, and finally expose him in front of everyone the way he deserved. The biggest risk was that my brother might see it coming, then lie to my family, saying that Olivia made him act this way. But we had nothing to lose. Everyone had already turned against us, so we decided to go for it. Olivia was determined to see it through, even though we were both nervous. The plan was that she would show up at his workplace during lunch, tell him she'd made a huge mistake, and then take him to a restaurant to discuss their future. My role was to make sure my sister-in-law was also at the restaurant, waiting to catch him in the act. I knew it was almost guaranteed that my brother would follow Olivia to the restaurant, but I wasn't sure how I'd make my sister-in-law hear me out. But we had to try. We went all in. Olivia even took off her engagement ring to make it more convincing. As expected, my brother fell for it right away. He showed up, pretending to be emotional, but it was clear he was just faking it. Olivia told him she was scared to admit the truth but had finally found the courage to leave him, showing him that she wasn't wearing her engagement ring. That's when any doubts he had disappeared. Surprisingly, convincing my sister-in-law to come with me wasn't hard. I think deep down, she already knew the truth. We waited at the restaurant, and sure enough, Olivia walked in with my brother. What happened next was a spectacle. My sister-in-law confronted him in front of everyone, screaming and throwing a drink in his face. My brother looked like he was living his worst nightmare. He got really angry at Olivia and started shouting at her, but that's when I stepped in. I had enough of him disrespecting her. Nothing a solid punch can't fix, right? I walked out with my sister-in-law and Olivia, and we went straight to my mom's house. We told her everything, and after a moment of shock, my mom broke down and apologized to Olivia and me for everything she had said before. My sister did the same. I'm so grateful to say that I've got my family back. Now, in the aftermath, my brother is left to deal with the consequences of his actions. We made it clear to both him and my sister-in-law that he is not welcome in our family anymore, but she and her child will always be family. My sister-in-law is an incredible woman, and she deserves someone who will cherish her. I know she will find that person. Olivia and I promised we'd be there for her and my future niece or nephew and make sure she never feels alone or overwhelmed. She's still pretty shaken up, to be honest. We all are. But I'm confident that with time, we'll all be better. And that's where things stand now. Olivia and I are doing better and are finally back to the relationship we had before this mess started. My family, on the other hand, is still a little strained. My mom and sister have been trying to rebuild things, but there's still a lot of work to do. As for my brother, he's still not speaking to me, and I don't know what's going on in his head. His wife has decided to cut ties with him for good, and honestly, I don't blame her. She deserves so much better, and I'm just glad I could be there for her. I still can't believe how everything fell apart so quickly. All this started from a stupid joke at a family dinner, and now it feels like my whole world has turned upside down. But in a way, I'm grateful that the truth came out. I just hope things settle down and we can all move forward, especially Olivia and I. We've been through a lot, and I know we can handle whatever comes next. To everyone who has been following this story, thank you for your support. It really means a lot. I'll update again if anything else happens, but for now, I think I'm ready to focus on the future with Olivia and leave the drama behind.